Hi, and welcome to the Microsoft Excel Fundamentals course. So in this course, we're going to be teaching you everything you need to know to get up and running with Microsoft Excel. So whether you're using it at home or at the office, after taking this course, you're going to have a solid understanding of how to use Excel to get things done. So as you can see on the screen here, the course is broken down into various sections, starting out with an introduction to Excel, where we'll be talking about the interface and how to use the ribbon, and also showing you how the online version works. And then we'll get into working with Excel, where we'll do things like create workbooks, add data, manipulate rows and columns, add other objects like photos and charts, and then also password protecting your workbook in case you need to keep other people out. Then we'll go into some of the more advanced features like formulas and filters, because that's what Excel is all about, using formulas to manipulate your data. And then you could use things like filters and sorting to help you get a better view of your data. And we'll also be showing you how to format your workbook, changing cell colors, adjusting your fonts and colors, making sure all your text fits within the cell, adjusting the cell width and height when needed, and then some additional formatting and styles. And then finally, we'll be going over page layout and printing, and there we will show you how to set up your pages so everything fits on one page, because when you're printing large Excel workbooks, you'll notice that they tend to print on multiple pages, and sometimes you don't want that. And then we'll show you how to use the page breaks to help you align your data for printing, and then we'll go over the various printing options. So sit back and relax, and let's start learning how to use Excel. Hi, in this lesson, we're going to give you a quick overview of the Microsoft Excel interface, just in case this is your first time using it, so you kind of know where to find what. All right, so to open Excel, you could just probably find it in your apps. If you have it on your shortcuts here, or go to your All Apps and find Excel, or you could always do a search for it if you can't find the icon here or on your desktop. So once you open Excel, it's going to go to the Home section here, where it's going to show you your recent spreadsheets. In case you want to continue working on one of those, you could open it right from there. Anything that you've pinned, which is like a favorite or a shortcut. So you could take one of these, click on the little thumbtack icon, and then it'll pin it, and that way it'll always be at the top, because eventually these will get replaced by newer spreadsheets that you open. And then you have the Shared With Me section, in case anybody's sharing any spreadsheets with you online. And then at the top, you could start with a blank one, or you could take a tour, get some tutorials, and open the templates, which we'll be talking about in another lesson. And then you could also click on New here to open a new blank workbook. And you could also click on Open to open any spreadsheets that are not in your recent list there. So let's just open a blank one just to get into the interface here. So once you have Excel open, you'll notice you have your columns and your rows. Rows use numbers, columns use letters, and then as you get to Z, you'll start with A, B, and you continue on. And same with the numbers, so this will pretty much go for more than you'll ever need. You'll probably only run out of space when you run out of memory on your computer to hold all this information here. And down at the bottom, you have your worksheets, where you could add multiple worksheets if you want to work on more than just one, keep things separated. And at the top here, you have what is called the Microsoft Office ribbon, which has all your tabs for different functions, which we'll be going into in a separate video. And up at the top here, you have your quick access toolbar, which we will be going to in the next video. This will say the name of your workbook, so this has not been saved, so it's just called Book 1. So once you save it, this will change. This auto-save option here, this is used to save your files to your OneDrive online cloud storage account. It's not going to auto-save to your hard drive, so that's why it's off by default. And then, of course, you have your search box if you want to search within your spreadsheet itself. And then down at the bottom here, you have some page layout views. If you want to change those, it's a little cut off by the taskbar. Then down here, you have your slider for zooming in and out, which you could also use with your mouse wheel. If you hold down Control and scroll, you can make things bigger or smaller, kind of like you can on web pages. And then at the top left, this will show you what cell that you're in. So you don't have to kind of try and count, E8, you can just look up here. And then once you type something in a cell, this will be highlighted here. And then once you type something in a cell, these will be highlighted where you could cancel it, which will delete it. And then there's Enter, which will apply it to the cell. And then you have your Insert function, which we'll be talking about in another video. So that's the basic layout of the Excel interface. So it's not too complicated, at least interface-wise. Once you start getting into some of the ribbon items, then things might get a little more in-depth. So we'll be talking about that in an upcoming video, so stay tuned for that. Hi, in this lesson we're going to be talking about the Quick Access Toolbar, which is up here at the top left of the Excel interface. So most of the Office apps, like Word and PowerPoint, have this option, so you could have a quick way to get to your commonly used commands. So by default, this one has save, undo, and redo. And then it also shows you the keyboard shortcuts too, Control Z, Control S when you hover over it. And also you could get to more options by clicking this. And this shows you what you have on the Quick Access Toolbar, and then you could add additional stuff. So let's say you want to have Open be an option there. Now you have the Open folder. So when you click on it, it'll take you to the Open menu. And then you could also uncheck it if you don't want it. And you could add any of these options. And if you want to show it below the ribbon, you could have it down here. So whatever works better for you. And then if you want some additional commands that are not shown here, you could click on More Commands. And then you could add them from here. Let's say we maybe wanted our page setup to be there. We could click Add, click OK. And now we have our page setup. And we click on that, it'll take us to the page setup options, like so. But then when you add custom items like this, if you don't want it, you'll have to go back to More Commands and remove the page setup option from there. Okay, so once again, the Quick Access Toolbar is just a place to have commonly used tools, so you don't have to go searching for them in all the ribbon items here. And that way you could just simply click on them from the menu up here, and of course you could customize it as needed. Hi, in this lesson we're going to be talking about the Microsoft Excel ribbon. So the ribbon is common across many Office products like Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, and so on. So the ribbon consists of multiple tabs, and each tab has its own set of tools within it. So there are a lot of tools here in all these various tabs, so I'm not going to obviously go over all of them, but we're just going to quickly go through each one of the tabs here and tell you what each section does. And then as we go through the course, we'll be using a lot of these tools, so you'll get used to where to find them. All right, so the File tab is kind of different than the rest because it doesn't have a ribbon interface. It's just where you'll go to do things like click on New or Open if you don't have a shortcut for it. You could find out information about your Excel. You have some save options here, your print options, sharing, exporting, which is pretty much just sending it to a PDF or an XPF. Publishing options, close, and if you want to view information about your Microsoft accounts, you could do that here as well. And then you have some options to go to the Excel options, which is a whole nother listing of sections here. We could do a whole course just on the Excel options. Okay, so back to the Home tab. That's a commonly used area here where you'll have your clipboard functions for copying and pasting, your font formatting tools, changing bold, italics, changing the font and size and color. Alignment like you have in Word, so if you want to left, justify, center your text, that type of thing. Paragraph indents and so on. Your numbers section for percentages and dollar amounts and how you want your cells to be viewed. And then the style section has some formatting options, so we're going to have a whole video on formatting itself. Then you have the cells section for setting your format options, delete options, insert options. Then there's the editing where we have sorting, searching, some functions, and analysis. We won't be getting into that. And then add-ins, which are extra apps that you could add to Excel to give it additional functionality. Okay, then we have the Insert tab. So if you want to insert items into your workbook, you could do that as well, such as tables, illustrations, various charts. You could insert links, comments, text. If you want to do a text box, symbols, you could do pictures and so on. So the Page Layout tab has all your formatting for size and margins, print area, and that type of thing. So when we get into the lesson on printing, we're going to be talking about how to set your print area and how to use the page break preview to see what's going to print. Then, of course, you could apply some themes here. If you want to put a background, you could add that as well. You have your scaling options here. Grid lines, if you want to show those on the screen or not, or have them show on the page when you print, you could set that here. And then the arrange option, so if you have like a picture and some text and you want to put the text on top of the picture, you could send something to the back or something to the front, so that way everything lines up correctly. Then you have alignment options, rotate if you had something inserted, and so on. Okay, so formulas, this is where things get a little complicated here. So you have a function library here where you show your recently used. You have some auto sum options, different types here, financial, logical, and text. And you have the insert function button, which will let you pick from a list here, or you could do a search for it or search by category. Now, formula auditing, we won't be getting into. The watch window is kind of a cool feature. It lets you watch a particular cell or cells, so if you make a change, it's easy to see what's going on with that cell based on what you do in other cells or on other worksheets. And then, of course, some basic calculation options. All right, then the data section, we're not going to be doing much here except for getting into the filtering and the sorting. So if you want to sort alphabetically or numerically, you could do that here. If you want to filter so you only see specific data, you could do that here as well. Then you have some data tools such as data validation, removing duplicates, flash fill, consolidate, showing relationships and so on. Okay, then the review tab. So basic proofing tools, spelling, thesaurus, checking your statistics, accessibility options, translate if you want to translate something to a different language. You could insert comments in your worksheet, so that comes in handy if you're sharing it so other people could see your comments. Same with notes. Then we'll also be talking about how to protect a sheet or protect the entire workbook. So this is a sheet, and you can have multiple sheets down here. So all the sheets together make the workbook. So you could password protect just a sheet or the entire workbook. Then the view options, if you want to change your views like you saw down here, like the page break preview like I just mentioned, we'll be talking about that. Page layout, and then if you want to show grid lines in the formula bar and the ruler, you could do so. Zoom options, which you could also do down here or with the scroll wheel on your mouse. And some window options like freeze pane is a nice one to use. So let's say you have some column headers here and a bunch of information. So when you scroll down, you might want to have the column headers stay at the top, even though you're scrolling down past, row 1 there. So that's something you could use freeze panes for. And then you have some help options. Basic help if you want to search for some stuff. Contact support, which is probably not going to help you unless you have a contract with Microsoft. And then some training options. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot to Excel here, and we'll be doing stuff in most of these tabs here as we go along. And of course, on a more advanced Excel course, you'd be using a lot more of these items too, especially in the formulas and data section. But for our purposes, we'll probably be using more, home and insert, and then we'll be doing some stuff with formulas as well. So hopefully by the time you're done with this course, you'll have a good idea of where everything is located in the ribbon and be able to easily find what you're looking for. Hi, in this lesson we're going to be talking about the online version of Microsoft Excel. So if you have the desktop version like we're going to be using for this course, you just open it by finding the icon in your programs and open Excel accordingly. But you could also use a web-based version from any device that has an internet connection and a web browser. But the only catch is, well, there's several catches, but the main catch is you'll be saving your files most likely in your OneDrive online storage account, which is fine if you want to be able to get to them from multiple devices. But if you prefer to save them to your desktop, then you're probably better off using the desktop version, even though you can download your OneDrive Excel files to your desktop. So right here we have the desktop version of Excel, which you've seen already. And then I have a couple browsers open here with the Microsoft 365 website, which you could get to at office.com. So there is a free version and the pay for version. So if you bought the Office 365 that you installed on your computer, a lot of times you could get the $99 a year for 5-user account. And when you do that, you'll have access to the web-based version as well. So one way you could tell if you're using the free version or the pay for version is when you go to office.com, you'll see they're similar. So here's another user here, but you notice this one says buy Microsoft 365, where this one doesn't, meaning this one already has an account with Microsoft 365, the pay for version, and this one doesn't, but you can see they're very similar in the way they look. So if we go to Excel, this is the free one here, do a blank workbook. And then we'll go to the other account. So this one is the pay for version. Open up Excel, do a blank workbook. You can see if we toggle in between them, they look very similar, or pretty much identical. So they are going to function the same. The only difference is going to be, the free version is going to be lacking some features that the pay for version has. But for most general users, you're not going to notice a difference and you're not going to be really missing anything. So you should be just fine with the free version. But like I said, if you have the desktop version, you're probably already paying for it, and therefore you'll have the full online version as well too. All right, so let's compare the difference here between the web version and the desktop version. We've got the same tabs up here, as you can see up here. And then you could also adjust the ribbon if you want to the single line ribbon. If you want a simplified look, Microsoft are trying to streamline things, but I don't like it because it makes it harder to find stuff. It might be, give you a little more space, but who wants that when you can actually see all your tools that you need to work with? And then with the desktop version, you could hide the ribbon by clicking on this here, or collapse the ribbon as they call it. And that gives you some more space to work with. And you could also collapse that too, the formula bar. And if you go to the View tab, you'll see you'll bring your ribbon back, then you could just pin it like that so it comes back. So once again, to use the online version, just go to office.com. And if you go home here, you'll see what kind of account you have. If it doesn't say to buy Microsoft 365, then you already own it. And even if it does say that, you can still use the free one without any problems. And then you have, just click on Excel and work from there. And then you also have Word and PowerPoint and some other apps, Outlook, OneDrive, Teams, OneNote. And if we go back to the workbook here, if we go to File, you'll notice there's no save because it's going to your OneDrive account. Open files from this device. But you can do a save as and download a copy of your file if you want to do it that way. One problem that many people run into is they start to get confused as to where their files are, so they end up with some on their desktop and some in the cloud, and it just gets complicated. So if you're just going to be working on Excel at home or at your desk at the office, maybe just stick with this. But if you're going to be using multiple devices and you want to share your files, then maybe the online version is for you. Just make a note when you're saving to pay attention where your file is saved to, because even in the desktop version, we do a save as here, you'll see there's a OneDrive option, and if you're not paying attention, it's going to want to save to OneDrive by default, and then you're not going to realize it, and then you're going to be looking for your file on your computer and it's not going to be there. Okay, so once again, just go to office.com, make sure you sign in with your Microsoft account. If you're not, it's not going to let you use it until you do. And you could also make another account if you want to have a separate account to use the online version, and so on.